Greetings everybody here, and welcome to the Forward Champion here on Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, Crime of the Century by Supertramp won its 5th straight. I didn't really think it would go that way. I thought it would be much harder on it, especially when it was facing Trespass and even the last album, Little Queen. I thought it really was going to have its time cut out, but it just goes to show you that it's a much greater album than I originally had thought it was, and it will go into the Grand Championship if we actually get any other competitors that get 5 in a row. That seems almost an impossibility out of the gate, but it did. So today we have 2 new challengers. One I chose as a great album that I quite loved. It was my favorite by this group when it first came out, when I first got it. It's since moved down the list a bit, but I still think it's a fantastic album, and it's going up against a album that I really like quite a bit now. I'm wondering if it will have the same impact over time period. It's hard to say. You never know what's going to happen, especially now, because I don't know about any of you, but the older I get, my ear wants something more. I don't know if that's a way to say it or not, but I hear more and my ear demands more. When I was younger, I just wanted a lot of really catchy riffing and vocals and strong. I was more into hard rock and heavy metal probably when I was younger, and as I got older, I got more into some bluesy stuff and stuff like that. But now I'm listening to prog rock. I want to hear things that I don't normally hear. Oh, what is that instrument? And sometimes it drives me mental if I don't know what it is. And you hear some of these instruments so many times, you think you would know what it is, but sometimes it's not so easy. So anyways, the 2 challengers today are Yeses. I think we'll hold this one over here. Still getting that blur. Okay, actually this is better for this album because of the planet. For some reason it gets a blur on it from the window. So this is Yeses Fragile, and the other album, which we will put over here, is... it must be just this angle. It's got to be just this angle then. So let's see. Oh, there. Maybe that's it right there. Okay, so we have Gentle Giants. It's hard to know where to put it. Okay, Gentle Giants, Acquiring the Taste, which is, I believe, their 2nd studio album, and Yeses Fragile, which is, I believe, their 4th studio album. So what's the real big difference here is this one is their... at that time was their big album release. This one here maybe a little bit harder to penetrate, but both really good albums. So we're going to talk about these 2 albums a bit, and then you guys are going to vote which one you think is the better album and should go through to the next round. This, to me, I think this is a really tough battle, but maybe some people think that this is a no-brainer. I don't know. For me, it's not a no-brainer, but anyways, we'll talk about Yes first. So when this came out, this had the hit song on it, Roundabout, and for me, this was my favorite of their albums. It wasn't even close at that point in time, because Close to the Edge, who I didn't have at the time, and when I did get it, took a long time to penetrate. It was longer and more involved and a lot more sophisticated in a lot of ways than this album, but to me they're both very similar in a lot of ways too. So it took a while to get into that album, because at that time period this was about the maximum I could handle with any kind of detailed or involved stuff at that time. I wasn't really into that, but I really liked Roundabout, of course, and I liked South Side of the Sky, which I think is a very underrated classic song in here. Over time, Heart of the Sunrise has become maybe my favorite song on here. I just love Chris Squire's bass on this. I just think it's among the best bass I've heard anywhere on any album. I really do love the color on this album, as well as the album cover. Even the smaller parts like Brahms and Cans, and We Have Heaven, the Clap and the Fish, and even Bill Bruford's 5% for Nothing. I like all of those little quirky things. showing off each of the individual talents of the members of the band. But to me, Heart of the Sunrise is the big underrated song on this album, and I do like Southside the Sky. It's one of my favorites to sing. So this to me has a huge impact. It's a master album for me. There's no doubt about it. Has been. It's not in my top. At one time it was number one. I think it's now around about third or fourth. I'm not sure. It's not at the top anymore for sure. But it's still a really great album. The second album in the challenge today is an album that I've come to love, absolutely adore this album. It's been the longest album ever on my playlist. I had it on my playlist over a year, and I only took it off because I need to make room for new, like other albums have to get some airplay. That's the only reason it stayed on there for a while still. The album cover, I'm wondering where they were going with this when they did it. But I'm not making any comments. I'm just thinking that something wasn't too smart, wasn't too good here. Anyways, I've read some stuff too that I don't want to repeat. Anyways, album cover aside, this is proliferated with some great tracks, absolutely great. Now, I'm not as familiar with the titles of the songs on this one, so I'm going to need my glasses, because for me it takes years, and when I say that's why it takes three years for it to become a master album, it takes me that long to get so familiar with them that I don't have to look at anything. But I do love this song, Acquiring the Taste, and Wrecked. Both of those songs, I love those two songs. They are just absolutely amazing. I'm sorry, album is on an angle here, but that's because of the way they did the title. And here's what it should look like. That makes a little bit more sense. But anyways, Black Cat. It's kind of a strange tune. Kind of bluesy, lots of odd noises, but the instrumentation on here definitely rivals. These two are among the best instrumentation albums, bands that is, of any bands out there. Very few bands have the kind of sophistication that either of these two bands have. This one just doesn't get the recognition, and I think a lot of it is because their music is on a penetration scale of getting into. This is probably, if 1 is the easiest and 10 is the hardest, this is like a 7 or an 8, where this is more like a 3 or a 4. So that's to me, that is the entire reason why this band never achieved that kind of worldwide success, because of music. Their deep cuts, which is all of their songs, are just, some of their albums are just fantastic. This is one of the best, I think, and such a good album. Plain Truth, I like, but Black Cat, Wreck, Acquiring the Taste, The Edge of Twilight, and I don't even know if I can say this, Pantagruel's Nativity. This is just doesn't get any better than this album that way. It's such a grand scale album. I mean, this was produced by Tony Visconti. I think this was Eddie Offord. Yes. So you've got two really great instrumentation albums with a lot of sophistication, complex time signatures, lots of really well thought out and planned out songs, some great vocals. I think Yes, if you're choosing vocals, I think Yes probably wins the vocal thing fairly easily. John Anderson is among the best. Album cover, probably Yes again, right? But after that, it's the arrangements of everything is so good. I think the number of instruments that are played by Gentle Giant exceeds what's played by Yes. But some of the Yes guys, Rick Wakeman, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, and Bill Bruford in this case, all top line musicians. There's very few people that are of a higher standard than those guys. Anyways, so I've gone on a little bit long here because I thoroughly love both these albums. I'm going to be pleased, but I'm also going to be disappointed no matter which way it goes, whichever. I'm hoping that the Gentle Giant album really gives itself a good showing. But Yes, of course, is considered one of the top players in the prog community, where Gentle Giant, a little bit more obscure, should be, but they're not. Pains me that that's the case, but maybe they are where they are because of the. I think it really just comes down to the music not being as accessible commercially as the stuff that Yes does. Okay, so choose your weapons here. Choose the one that you like, what you think is best. I think this is a difficult choice. For me, it's extremely difficult choice, but I don't have to make it. That's up to you. Vote for either Yes is Fragile or Gentle Giant's Acquiring the Taste. Which one of these do you think is better or should go on to the next round? Take care, and please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. We'll be back next week with the winner of this battle. Have a good one. Bye.